Hello, and welcome to the Job Hazard Analysis Training Module. Kerber takes its social responsibility for your occupational health and safety and environmental protection very seriously. The JHA, a pocket risk assessment tool, is a tool we have to ensure that we have a safe, controlled, and healthful work environment. This training will take approximately 20 minutes to complete. The JHA is a risk management tool enabling us to identify and evaluate job steps, their associated hazards, and assign controls. At Kerber, we classify job tasks into two categories, routine and non-routine. We will discuss this further in the training. Think of the JHA as a contract between you, your colleagues, and Kerber. You evaluate the job task or work scope. Inform your team, management, and Kerber what you need to safely carry out the work. The JHA must result in an agreed-upon work plan that facilitates a safe and healthful work environment for all work participants. If you cannot reduce the risk to an acceptable level to perform work, you exercise stop work authority until you have adequate barriers, controls, or mitigations in place and fully implemented. If something about the job task or work scope changes, a hazard arises or changes while carrying out the work, or a barrier, control, or mitigation partially or completely fails, exercise stop work authority, reassess the work, and recommence once made safe to do so. Now, let's get started. For our safety moment, let's watch a short video about housekeeping, followed by a brief discussion.
Poor housekeeping can be a cause of accidents, such as tripping over loose objects on floors, stairs and platforms, being hit by falling objects, slipping on greasy, wet, or dirty surfaces, cutting, and puncturing. To maintain good housekeeping, day-to-day cleanup is necessary, irrespective of the designation. Good housekeeping is one item that can help to improve not only the safety on the job, but also the morale and productivity of the job. It increases job productivity, the morale of the team and the area, and decreases health issues.
Poor housekeeping is a significant contributing factor to incidents and near misses in the workplace. A lack of proper housekeeping can cause incidents such as tripping over loose objects on floors, stairs, and platforms, being struck by falling objects, or slipping on wet, dirty, or greasy surfaces, contacting poorly stacked items or misplaced materials, cutting, puncturing, or tearing of skin on protruding nails, wires, or other sharp objects. Ways to maintain good housekeeping is housekeeping should be done regularly, not periodically. A couple of good tips to follow include clean up during shift, proper waste disposal and segregation, proper storage. Lastly, if you see a housekeeping issue, take care of it yourself or let someone know. Don't leave a housekeeping issue in the work environment. Now, let's get into the Job Hazard Analysis Training Module. The JHA program or process is a conversation that allows and expects employees to take an active role in their own safety and health and operational performance by planning and executing their job task in a controlled and predictable manner. Each job task or work scope that presents risk or hazards to us must result in the identification of those risks or hazards and their specific barriers, controls, or mitigations through the JHA process. The JHA process must result in providing a zero harm culture, reducing risk or hazards to an acceptable level to commence work. The JHA process is a conversation that sometimes must be documented. If risk or hazards are present in the job task or step or work scope, then a JHA must be documented. The three phases of work are planning. Prior to the commencement of work, the JHA shall be documented. The job participants will meet at the work location and collaboratively survey the job site environment for hazards and how to control them and assess the remaining or residual risk. Each job participant must sign the JHA form acknowledging that they understand the work and they're part of the work scope. Execution. Carrying out the job task or work scope in accordance with the agreed upon work plan or the JHA. If any deviation from the JHA occurs or may occur, simply exercise stop work authority, reassess and recommence work once made safe to do so. Review. After the job, review how the job went with regards to the JHA. Capture any lessons learned or opportunities for improvement and revise the JHA and keep in accordance with the Kerber record-keeping requirements. When must a JHA be documented and at what frequency? Any job task or work scope that presents or exposes us to risk or hazards requires a JHA to be performed and documented. Routine JHA. DFW campus SCM departments and customer service have a consistent work environment, and we utilize the JHA process with an indefinite validity and a quarterly review and sign-off by job participants. Non-routine JHA. Due to the changing work environment present at our project sites, installation and construction sites, these require a daily JHA with participant sign-off. Also, any job tasks falling under one or more of our life-saving rules require a daily JHA. In summary, non-routine work is work that presents additional risk to us that must be controlled with a daily JHA and supporting documentation and is generally associated with working under our 4 life-saving rules. Routine work is work that does not fall under our life-saving rules and has a JHA with an indefinite validity and a 90-day sign-off or review for work participants. If no JHA exists for a job task that presents risk to us, then one must be developed with all job participants prior to the commencement of work. JHAs must be revised if something changes about the job task or work scope, such as significant changes to equipment, processes, personnel, or a risk or hazard not previously identified. We manage risk or hazards that are or may be present in our job task or work scopes by assessing actual or potential risk present in the job task, work scope, and our working environment. Our life-saving rules have been developed to keep us safe while executing high-risk activities. The life-saving rules are about environmental protection, health and safety, not discipline. The life-saving rules establish a consistent approach in the prevention of serious injuries and is in keeping with our core values of integrity, safety, respect, and environmental protection, along with our collaborative goal of a sustainable zero-harm culture. Additional information and requirements for work related to our life-saving rules can be found in relevant sections of the EHS manual. Any job task falling under the life-saving rules are considered non-routine and require the use of a daily JHA form, Form F221, and associated supported documentation prior to commencement of work. The primary method of managing risk in our job task or work scopes are to assess each job task or work scope for hazards and their controls prior to the commencement of work through our job hazard analysis process. All work participants are required to attend or review a JHA prior to the commencement of work. Additionally, DFW campus have performed a hazard identification and assessment of risk and opportunities that identify generic hazards associated with expected operational activities. As we perform work, we must continually evaluate the work for the control of hazards and/or working environment. Our barriers, controls, mitigations that protect us, the target, from risk or hazards are supervisor, first line of defense, evaluate the job task and assign trained and competent personnel, provide right tools for the job. Pocket risk assessment tool. The team evaluates the job task, job or human factors, risk, and their controls. Job hazard analysis. Team conversation which results in an agreed upon work plan. Team performance. Stick to the JHA. Continually monitor the job task, working environment, and exercise stop work authority if any actual or potential deviation occurs. Stop work authority. Last line of defense. It is the final barrier to maintain control of work and prevent the release of a hazard or hazards into our working environment. all other barriers, controls, mitigations have partially or completely failed, exercise stop work authority, reassess the job, and resume work once made safe to do so. Kerber has empowered each of us to exercise stop work authority to suspend a work task when the control of environmental, health, and safety risk is not clearly understood, established, or controlled. Remember, you don't have to prove a job task unsafe to stop it, but you do need to prove a job task is safe to commence work. I have used red boxes to outline what we have discussed for this specific job. Not all conditions or discussion points have to be transferred to the documented JHA. The Pocket Risk Assessment tool serves to prompt us to have a relevant and robust discussion in response to site conditions, job participants, and assigned job tasks. Over the next few minutes, we will discuss how to transfer findings or observations from the Pocket Risk Assessment tool and team conversation onto the JHA. The top section of the JHA form contains a title, supporting documentation, and a detailed job description. We will be using the job assigned to us in the Pocket Risk Assessment Tool training module, inspecting elevated drive equipment from a man lift or aerial work platform. Now let's discuss how we will document our JHA conversation on the JHA form. First, we need to note the job site. In this instance, DFW campus. The date the JHA was developed or revised. Then the job supervisor. In this instance, Sandra C. Fisher. Post-job review should be performed to look for opportunities for improvement, changes within the job that would cause the JHA to be revised, missing job steps, hazards, or their controls. In the title section for job, brief description of the job. Detailed description is further into the JHA form. Number of personnel to perform the job, in this instance 3. If the JHA calls out a specific number of personnel, we must meet this number in order to safely execute the job. JHA risk assessment prompt used. The risk assessment prompt should always be used to develop and document a JHA. Now we need to determine the job type, routine or non-routine. Routine is a job task that does not present significant risk and has a 90-day validity. Non-routine is work falling under one or more of our life-saving rules and requires the use of a daily JHA. If a job does not have an existing JHA, regardless of risk, a JHA must be developed prior to the commencement of work. Does everyone know how to do the job? The purpose of the JHA process is to advise employees with their involvement, their roles and responsibilities to safely execute the job task. The JHA advises that job participants of the job steps, associated hazards, and their controls. Source or supporting documentation for visually inspecting elevated equipment in a man lift or aerial work platform. Employee certifications in the man lift and personal fall arrest training. Equipment inspection for man lift and personal fall arrest system. Note the form numbers used. OEM manual for man lift and operator responsibilities on hand and in equipment. Working at heights rescue plan. We can include this in the JHA. Pocket risk assessment tool used. Yes. Life-saving rules reviewed. Yes. Plan stop work. In this job, we will stop the job every 30 minutes for hydration. Detailed description of the job. Visually inspecting elevated drive equipment on the test loop in Building 2, DFW campus. Next, we will document our conversation regarding job steps, hazards, initial risk or risk present without controls put in place, adequate barriers, controls, or mitigations, and residual risk or risk present after controls put in place and verified effective. Remember, residual risk informs us of who can authorize work to proceed. Level 1, 2, or 3. This can be found in our Pocket Risk Assessment tool. Job steps with our assigned job task are acquire personal fall arrest system for 2 personnel. Fall restraints should have fixed length lanyards or SRL. Hazards associated with this are ensuring the proper inspection of the personal fall arrest system and the proper donning of the personal fall arrest system, resulting in an initial risk ranking of a level 2. The controls, mitigations, or barriers assigned to this job step are personnel will be trained and competent or qualified, resulting in a residual risk ranking of a level 1. Next, we will need to acquire the man lift. A hazard can be the proper inspection of a man lift and the proper donning of the personal fall arrest system while inside the man lift. This initial risk rank is a level 2. Our control will be the personnel will be trained and competent or qualified to operate the man lift and wear personal fall arrest systems within the man lift, resulting in a residual risk ranking of level 1. Next, we will walk the area and check the path of travel for the man lift and aisle clearance or side-to-side clearance. Hazard could be the man lift could strike an instruction or tip on uneven floor surfaces. It could strike other equipment due to lack of clearance. Initial risk ranking of a level 3. The control would be the man lift operator to walk the work area and check for side and top clearances and an even floor, no obstructions and in good repair, and use of a ground guide. Minimum PPE would be a bump cap, safety toe footwear, safety eyewear, and cut-resistant gloves, resulting in a residual risk of a level 1. Next, the man lift operator and the maintenance technician would get into the man lift. Hazard could be slip, trip, or fall while getting in the man lift, resulting in an initial risk ranking of level 2. Our control would be personnel are to tie off to anchor point within the man lift. Check each other's personal fall arrest system to ensure proper donning and connecting devices used. Residual risk ranking of a level 1. Next job step would be to visually inspect drive equipment. Tools will be a flashlight and a tablet for taking notes. Hazards associated with this job step are threefold. First hazard, rotating equipment we could be drawn in or entrapped. The control would be do not reach outside of the man lift rails. The next hazard associated with visually inspecting drive equipment would be impact equipment with the man lift. The control would be we will have a ground guide to communicate with the man lift operator verbally of proximity to equipment. The next hazard would be a dropped object, which could be the flashlight or tablet. The control would be tie off the flashlight or tablet with a lanyard or a holster and then place barrier tape around the area to prevent people from transiting or standing underneath the elevated man lift. Our initial risk without controls would be a level 3. Our residual risk with controls would be a level 1. Lastly, we would want to secure the scene, secure the man lift, and secure the personal fall arrest systems after the job. The hazard could be inappropriate equipment or PFAS not stored correctly. Initial risk would be a level 1. The control would be the man lift operator to properly store the man lift and both personnel to properly store their personal fall arrest systems, resulting in a residual risk ranking of level 1. With all the job steps, their hazards, and their controls and mitigations put in place, we wind up with the residual risk level of 1, which means our supervisor can authorize work to commence. Next, let's discuss lessons learned and participant sign-off. Lessons learned occur in the post-job review. Are there any opportunities for improvement or a better way to perform the job? Is there a reason to revise the JHA? Are there missing job steps, hazards, or controls? Lastly, employee sign-off. All employees who are a part of a job must sign and acknowledge the JHA, that they were in the development or review and understand their individual roles and responsibilities and the task associated with this JHA.
Now that the team has been through the JHA process, we will each sign, noting that we understand our roles and responsibilities as associated with this job task.
During the post-job review, I noticed this was great planning. In reviewing the JHA, I noticed a few items I would like added. William, please revise this JHA to specifically discuss rescue plan and who to contact, Specifically address housekeeping and securing the scene, and always maintain 3 points of contact when getting into and out of the man lift. Please revise the JHA with these elements and resubmit to me for future use.
Stop work authority is a conversation we have during our JHA process. This is to remind all personnel performing the work to exercise stop work authority if any actual or potential deviation occurs from the JHA or agreed upon work plan with each other. Any actual or potential deviation from the JHA presents risk to us and the team. Stop the job, reassess, and recommence once safe to do so.
If you have any questions regarding this training module on the JHA process or controlling risk in your working environment, ask your supervisor or contact the EHS team. Don't forget to take the knowledge assessment to complete this training.